Hey parents, Dr. Matt here. Dysautonomia is a condition that's widely misunderstood and often even overlooked. This is because there's so many symptoms and struggles that come with it, and it can also be just looped into so many other diagnoses. A lot of times the struggles we see with kids can be dizziness, vertigo, feeling like an out-of-body experience, brain fog, anxiety, sensory, gut problems, muscle pain, weakness. Gosh, you could go on, but there's so much that's bucketed in to dysautonomia. This is why it's also so tough, because it gets bucketed in with other diagnoses, whether it be anxiety, sensory processing disorder, POTS, PANDAS, even sometimes as big as seizures, and dysautonomia can rear its ugly head for kids and adults. So what I want to talk about today is going back to what dysautonomia is, because if you are hearing this for the first time as a parent or given this diagnosis for the first time, you're probably a bit confused and going to the Google and looking through, okay, what does this mean? And then I want to go through, okay, what is the root cause of it? 5 different root causes. And then what do we do to look at it, measure it, and care for it? So first off, dysautonomia is a condition where a breakdown of what we call the autonomic nervous system. Now, the autonomic nervous system is the side of the nervous system. It accounts for about 80% of neurology to the brain. The other 20 goes to the muscle, movement, motor side of it. But the autonomic nervous system controls our systems, organs, glands, and processes of the body. Think about all the things we really don't think about that much, right? The hormonal system, the respiration system, digestive system, just our ability to really run subconsciously throughout our day on the things that need to happen to keep us alive. There's thousands, millions of things going on in each of the cells daily. And when those get confused and the body can't communicate or know what's happening all the way, that's when that autonomic system gets dysautonomic, or it gets disconnected and unable to talk to the body and the brain with it. So in this, common symptoms include gut issues, because there's a big digestive component to the autonomic nervous system. It could be the cardiorespiratory system, because the lungs and heart are big connectors to it. And then also the hormonal system, meaning heat regulation, emotions, all of the things that go along with hormones are a big driver too, because it's tied to the adrenals and the hormonal reproductive glands and those systems that run autonomically on that what's supposed to be just a process that keeps going rather than you really have to think about. So what triggers dysautonomia in the first place? What triggers this disconnection? Well, there's really 5 things I want to talk about. And with any big condition, there's really never one thing you can do. It's more the perfect storm of it. And oftentimes this actually starts very, very early on with where we see it happens in maternal distress, or when there's stress even before babies are born. Now, this can be from excessive stress hormones. It can be due to the nervous system or the parasympathetics, or just that extra maternal stress positioning. All of that is really going to make kiddos struggle later on in life, because that start of stress happens so early. Then number 2, you tack onto that a difficult birth intervention. Now, that's what we talk about a lot in pediatric chiropractic, if you followed our page or you've dug into our website, because we look at delivery very carefully. Because if you're using forceps, vacuum, manual extraction, these biophysical, biochemical misalignments in the system can not only affect the physical system, but they also affect the autonomic nervous system and the processes that work through it. Number 3, when you have maternal distress, when you have a tough birth and delivery, that's where oftentimes we miss milestones or milestones slow. That can mean a kiddo at first not eating, sleeping, pooping really well, but then that going over to, okay, I'm more of a picky eater. I'm a little more sensory adverse to different things. I'm either a seeker or I'm someone who's ultra sensitive. Or it can mean they're even missing motor milestones. But this plays a role in it too, because the brain and the body aren't on the same page. They're a little bit behind. And when they're trying to catch up, if anything else comes in there, there's gonna be a miscommunication in that dysautonomic system. Now, number 4, this often happens when we see a recurrent of infections, gut issues, inflammation, immune struggles, antibiotics. The gut plays a major role in dysautonomia. And oftentimes when kiddos hit that 5 to 10-year-old mark, they're having immune struggles. They might have gut struggles. They might even have anxiousness or things like that. And if that coincides with development, that can continue to overwhelm the brain and make the body not be able to communicate. And this really leads into number 5. It leads into where then the sensory system's impacted, and oftentimes it leads to a high level anxiety that's affected, that as kids get older, it makes everything be altered. And that's where the autonomic system just simply can't communicate brain to body, and it becomes very dysautonomic. And then you see this wide range of symptoms. And that's why we talk about it as a wide range of symptoms, because it's never one thing, but oftentimes it starts in one of those 5 things and really builds up. So how do we care for this cycle of dysautonomia? Because when all of these different systems, digestive, respiration, cardiovascular, stress, all of these different systems that the brain is talking to the body get affected, how can we help that? Well, what I want to show you today is I want to show you a heart rate variability scan that we do in our office. And it really shows how we can help these 5 different perfect storm things that get us stuck into dysautonomia, how we can get out of it. So I'm going to change my screen right here. And this is an HRV scan. And this is actually an HRV scan of a 19-year-old girl named Francesca who struggled with dysautonomia. Now, on this scan, this HRV scan, it really gives us 2 different views. It shows us the autonomic activity, meaning how tired out is the nervous system. And then it shows us the autonomic balance of the nervous system. Now, with her being very low on this scan, what we're seeing is this autonomic activity being really low. What that means is energy is plain and simply drained from the system. And this is commonly what happens with dysautonomia. When all the systems go awry, what it really causes, it causes the nervous system to not be able to communicate. It gets confused, it tries to get out of it, but then long term it gets exhausted. And if that's exhausted, then the nervous system can't get all the symptoms back on track, and it becomes dysautonomic, where the nervous system simply can't talk brain to body. So then you get weird symptoms. You get digestive distress, you get brain fog, you can get dizziness and vertigo. You can get this feeling that your heart's racing. You have trouble with heat and cold regulation. All of these things because the nervous system can't get out of that stuck form of stress called dysautonomia, where the brain and the body are talking to each other. So if this is something that you or your child are experiencing, we would love to help. Here at PwC and within the network of doctors that we care for kids with, we have the clinical protocols in place to help with dysautonomia. We'll not only do that HRV scan, but we'll also do 2 other scans that show us the region and systems that are all affected with dysautonomia. We want to help. We know it's a complex condition. We know that oftentimes when you try to just go after the little symptoms with this, it doesn't fix the root cause of the problem. And that's why we want to look deep into the nervous system, because if dysautonomia is the brain and the body talking to each other through the nervous system, if we can get that nervous system balanced back online, not as exhausted and not as confused, then we can help kids and adults thrive even with a tough dysautonomia diagnosis. So if you have more questions, we'd love it if you DM us, message us. We would love to chat about it, have a consult, call our office, and we will get to the root cause of this and find out how we can best help. Hope this video finds you well. God bless. Have an awesome rest of your day, guys.